Aaron is a first-time caller from Croydon. What can you tell us, Aaron?
Hi there. What's your name?
Natasha.
Natasha. Hi, Natasha. So I wanted to call in to give a political opinion on the other side. I think that there's a lot of hate amongst young men, and I don't think that's really a good thing. But there's a reason young men have moved to the right, and we've seen a lot of young men vote for Trump and move to the right in terms of politics. And I think there's a reason, and I think the left have excommunicated them and left them behind, and they don't really have anywhere else left to go. The right thinks that men are important and that they're valuable to society, and men need to think that they're valuable to society to be healthy and to live a good life. So whilst I think that the hate amongst young men towards women and misogyny is not a good thing, I think I can understand where they're coming from and why they're getting pushed to the right.
Yeah, I think I get it as well, Aaron, and I will agree that because what I see happening is, you very few people are aware of their own privilege, and I'll include myself in that. It took me ages, as a white presenting person to realise how many doors that had opened to me, because the privilege like that is invisible to you. And it's not nice to be told that the things that you have achieved or where you are in your life might be as a result of privilege, or that you are causing distress to other people through your behaviour, for example. Those aren't nice things to be told. And so therefore, what the right wing have done is they have gone, well, actually, that's not true. You are the disadvantaged ones in society. You are the oppressed ones. And they've given boys and young men a narrative to cling on to. And what we should have done is say, look, and this is so true, boys and men, we need you. We need you as part of the movement. We need allies in this movement. And you are absolutely valuable to us. But I think that we failed to convey that message. Do you think that's a fair summary?
Why I don't think that's fair is because I think that, so you expressed that men are valuable to the movement. I think men are valuable to society, and I think that men are valuable in families. So what I want to express here is exactly the opposite of what you're trying to say. It's about men being valuable to people and to society and to women, and to actually say, okay, men have had the privilege for many millennia, centuries ago. And I think it has shifted now. I think there's a lot of women, which I think is a great thing. And I think there's a lot more equality amongst society. But I think that men have actually now fallen behind. Do you know the statistics about men going into higher education?
Well, we were just discussing that in the last hour, in fact, but particularly men from working class backgrounds. Yes, absolutely. They are falling behind their female counterparts.
Exactly. So women in higher education has gone up. We know that women in STEM have also gone up. We know that male suicide is at its highest. Did you know that male suicide accounts for more than women's breast cancer in terms of victims? So there's a lot. I think what has happened in society is this privilege that you're talking about, which really was the case, is something that was there and it isn't there currently. I think there are areas in which men have privilege, but on the whole, I think that women definitely have an advantage in many areas. And I think instead of trying to berate young men, I think we should be trying to assist them and trying to hear their voices and not leave them behind and keep telling them that they have privilege when I don't think the statistics agree.
What about, those are some statistics and you're right to cite them, but what about, listening to the last caller that we had, Irene, the entitlement that the male students in her daughter's university felt to treat her like an object? What about the statistics around violence against women and how unsafe women feel going out for a jog in broad daylight? What about those? Does it have to come with this side order of hate, making men feel valuable and noticed? Is there a way to do it without encouraging hatred of women?
So I don't think that encouraging hatred of women is okay, and I never said that.
No, I know you didn't.
I think okay, yeah, and I think if we're looking at women, women definitely have problems in society, and they need to be addressed. And I don't think trying to hate all men really explains for that and is helping the situation. That's one. And in general, you gave the example of women going out and, feeling unsafe. But did you know that in the statistics, men in every metric, apart from sexual crimes, are more likely to experience crime?
But the figures for sexual violence are just astronomical when you look at the number of women who have experienced it. And I realise that he's from an incredibly wealthy background, but the narrative is always, isn't it, that accusations of sexual violence ruin a man's reputation and his career. And yet we've all just watched somebody for whom there are numerous accusations and even a court case in which he was labelled an adjudicated rapist rise to the rank of president of the United States. I mean, that speaks to an inequality, doesn't it?
I don't agree with everything that Trump has done. I do not agree. And I'm not trying to advocate him right here. But one thing he does is he values men. Another thing that happened is actually quite a lot of women also voted for him from all races. So it may have also been because Kamala wasn't a great president either. So that's one of the arguments.
I mean, it was overwhelmingly white women. When you look at the statistics for Black and Latina women, the majority did vote for Kamala. But I agree that she wasn't a great candidate, and she was certainly no match for the way that he, kept hammering his messages home. But I'm curious as to why you think Donald Trump values men like you. I think he values wealthy men. But I'm assuming that you're not from a massively wealthy background, Aaron.
So no, I wasn't. I wasn't from a wealthy background. What I did is I worked really hard. I went to university. I got a master's degree at a very prestigious university, and I went on to now having a high-paying job. And I think that came from hard work. Again, I didn't come from privilege, and I've made money myself, and that came from a lot of hard work and dedication. And I think Trump speaks to that. I think he talks to the people, and he talks to how young men and how men in general need to work hard and provide for their families. And I think that traditional role is still expected amongst young men.
But you know that if you were an American man, Aaron, and you're university educated and you're now making a decent wage for yourself, so you have worked hard, but you've clearly not faced insurmountable barriers in being able to access higher education and be able to do well for yourself. But the number one cause of bankruptcy in the US is healthcare costs, right? Is private healthcare costs. The kinds of people that Trump supports who just want to make money and value that over human lives. Now, if you had a wife and kids and you were an ordinary American man trying to support your family, all of that hard work that you described could be taken away from you overnight. And I can guarantee you that Trump
Natasha,
wouldn't give a damn.
I'll need to stop you there. And the reason why I'm stopping you there is because I'm going to repeat something that I said a bit ago, and that's I don't advocate for Trump. I think Trump values men, and I advocate for valuing men. So that part of what Trump has done, I do think is good, and I think he's speaking. I think he's speaking the truth. I do not advocate for everything he's done. I mean, recently, as an example, I don't really want to go into this area, but he advocating to go to Gaza and to take over there. I completely disagree with that. I think abortion is a good thing. So I'm not saying that Trump is good. I'm saying that what he's doing to value men is good.
Well, I'm trying to point out that there's a
He's trying to promote society. He's trying to promote the economy. whilst Kamala really hasn't done much.
But how can you be saying that you are going to promote society when you're talking about sending undocumented migrants to Guantanamo Bay, breaking up families, sending ICE into schools, doing a big illegal grab of people's personal data? He might say that he advocates for men, but from the point of view of an ordinary American man, I can't see how any of his policies would actually benefit you. And this is my concern with the right wing. I can see how the rhetoric might be attractive, but when you look at what they actually stand for, you are utterly disposable to them.
I mean, you're talking about in, I guess, a global sense, and I'm not, again, I'm not advocating for Trump, so I wouldn't say that, I would necessarily promote him, but there are areas that he lacks in, but there are areas, for example, he said that there were only two genders. I agree with that. There were only two biological genders. He put that into play. He took the JFK file.
Why is that so important to you? Why does somebody identifying as non-binary affect your life?
I just feel the need, and I think scientifically, coming from a STEM background, I believe in two genders and that biology is actually a real thing.
But you know that there are biologists who have PhDs and beyond who will say that biology is more complex than that. And you know that there are indigenous populations who have acknowledged more than two genders for thousands of years and that were often forced to separate themselves into two genders because of colonial invaders.
Yeah, I've done biology GCSE, and I'm pretty sure in the textbook it said that there were. Oh well, maybe.
But not everything you learn at biology GCSE is true.
There's two genders in the textbook, and one of them was male, and the other one was female.
But Aaron, when you do science, as you know, when you get to A level, you learn that some of the things you learned at GCSE weren't true, or you were taught it in a reductive way. When you get to degree, you learn that some of the things that you learn at A level were reductive or not quite true, and so on and so forth. Which is why
Absolutely.
I listen to the experts.
I agree with this. I agree, Natasha. I agree with this. I think at GCSE and A level, you learn about Newton's theory of gravity, but then you relearn at university that the general relativity theorem that Einstein developed is actually what gravity is. It's just a bending of space.
So why can't you apply that to gender and understand that it might be a little bit more complex than what you learned at GCSE?
Because this is scientific fact that general relativity is gravity and it bends space-time.
But I can find a scientist who will tell you that it's scientific fact.
Really a fact.
I can find a scientist who will tell you that it's scientific fact that not everybody is born with an XY or an XX chromosome, and that there are people who fall
that will tell me that the
within the binary.
I don't think that really proves your argument. I think.
But geneticists, I'm talking about geneticists. But I go back to my question. We can argue about whether non-binary people are legitimate. I happen to think that they are. But how does it affect your life, their existence? How does it negatively affect you?
Because I personally don't want to broaden my language where I don't want to be. I don't want to be inaccurate. I shouldn't be forced to be inaccurate. If I do I not have the right to think that there were two genders and that
you have the right to think that, but what I'm hearing, Aaron, is that you've gone far right because pronouns make you sad, and that makes me sad. Aaron, thank you for your call. It was genuinely interesting talking to you.